So what I'd like to start with, there's a very powerful story in the Bible. It's the story of Rebekah, the matriarch. Some of you know there's, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then there's wives, Sarah, Rebekah, and Leah, and Rachel. So the story goes when Rebekah was very young, so you've got to picture it in its frame because it's very pertinent to what I'd like to share with you this morning. She's a young girl, and she used to go out and draw water for her household, for the animals or what have you. And of course, they would all go out together, all the young girls, into the field, because to open up the well to draw the water was not a very easy thing. So meanwhile, as circumstances always have it, right? Everything is synchronistic. So far away, there's a gentleman named Abraham. And Abraham, the patriarch, is looking for a wife for his son. So he takes his servant, Eliezer, loads him up with 10 camels worth of valuables, and sends him out on this mission, right, to always stay connected to the Creator, but to go find a wife for his son. So he basically prays, he says, God, show me a sign. So he gets out to this field. Just so happens Rebekah is out to draw water. Here comes this man with all these 10 camels and servants and what have you. And she looks at him. She's a young girl. He's an old man. And he looks at her and says, could you give me some water? So now, most of us might say, no. You don't talk to strangers. Just do your thing. No. But she was of the nature, and that's the real key. Not only sharing, she didn't only give for Eliezer, but she also gave for his servants and for the camels, and she kept going back and forth to draw water till everybody had their fill, the camels and the people. And as we've often called it in the center, it's sharing beyond logic. It's one thing to say, okay, you asked me for a glass of water here, I'm happy to give you even the bottle of water. But now to go out and give water to everyone else in his party and the animals and make sure that they're taken care of is beyond, sharing beyond logic, or as we might even say, going the extra mile. The thing we want to remember is because of that, she merited to marry Isaac the patriarch and have Jacob the patriarch as a son. So it's when we extend ourselves that extra mile that miracles will happen and things beyond our expectations will take place. And so that's really what I want to get into this morning is what does it mean to share beyond what's expected of us? So we start with a simple idea. If we are the creator and everything in the universe is cause and effect, then who's deciding what's happening in our life? We are. And the hard part of that is to remember all the time we are creating. Because many times during the day we're unconscious. Right? We've talked about over the time you've been here, always sending light. Just think to send blessings, light, goodness to people around you. But how many of us can remember that for all the waking hours? It's not an easy thing. So to remember that we're the creators of our life and everything around us and everything we see and everything we're experiencing are things we've created consciously or otherwise. And the hard part is there's not one person in this room who's not a good person. So then why would we have challenges in our life? Why would we have any difficulties or obstacles? Because even if we're good people, in those moments of being unconscious, then what thought, what perception, what belief is manifesting creation for us? All the things we grew up with that are not true, that are not truly what we are, what God created us to be. We'll allow the fear, the anger, the jealousy, the worry about people, the concern, the fear of chaos in the world and what's going to happen. Those things will channel through us and create in our lives because we are the creators. So that's why here every week we first start out with the affirmation to keep reminding us who we are and that we are constantly creating. So if in our hearts and our soul and our behaviors and our words are love and kindness and compassion, more so than last week and more each day than what we're creating that will return back to us, kindness, love, compassion, generosity, tolerance, forgiveness, etc. We have to remember we are constantly creating. And that's why it says if we go the extra mile, we are basically forcing the universe to go the extra mile for us. Okay. Now, I want that to sink in. Because a lot of us grow up with also that idea that everything's up to the Creator. It's not up to the Creator. The Creator already created. It's in our hands as co-creators to decide what we create. Because if there's only one God and that God is perfect, then the world should be perfect in our vision. Why isn't it perfect in our vision? Because each and every one of us see our unique worlds. Each and every one of us perceive from our own consciousness, our own eyes, our own past, our own history, and our own experiences. And that's why we all interpret the world differently. And that's why it doesn't look the same for all of us. No matter who we are and how much we love each other, there's always differences of perception. Tell me you don't have any disagreement with somebody that you love dearly. Why? You love them dearly. Shouldn't you see things the same? No. It's not a bad thing. It's just to understand. My history came with me when I married my wife. Her history came with her when she married me. So if we have different histories and different backgrounds or different understandings or different experiences, then what we bring to the marriage is also going to be different. We work together. There's an effort to bring unity, but it doesn't mean we're going to see eye to eye on everything. So if we understand we are creating our world, the beauty of that is not to feel bad when you find an obstacle or something you don't like, but to understand in that moment you have the power to change it. Don't they have an erase button on your computer? You have a backspace, right? You have an eraser on pencils. You have a delete button on your telephone. Why did they do that? Why didn't they just leave it? Sorry, what is. We'd be in a lot more worse shape than we are. But when you make a mistake, there's always a way to erase it and fix it. In the physical world, and therefore more so in the spiritual world. So understanding we are the creator, a co-creator, not the creator, but we're co-creators in the power to create, then if you don't like something in your life, recreate it. But that's where the effort comes in. And that's the key that we're learning here. It's not pray to God and ask God to change it. It's be as God and change it because you created it, you can recreate it. That's the power. That's what we want to be doing here. Now, here comes a little bit of the tough part. Everyone heard of a sacrifice? Sacrifice. Who wants to sacrifice? Right? Why do I want to sacrifice? It always sounds so heavy and burdensome. Okay, they teach us we have to sacrifice things in our lives, and we have to give up so many good things in our lives, and we have to, give it away or not do something or whatever because we're going to sacrifice for the good of others, or we're going to sacrifice for the good of God. Sacrifice in the simplest foundational term means a substitute. If a teacher is sick in school, what do they bring into the classroom? Substitute. The substitute is the replacement for the teacher that was. In the days of the Temple of Jerusalem, what was the purpose of a sacrifice? A person made a mistake. They did some negative act. Cause and effect might say that maybe they should have a challenge with an illness. Maybe they should get the flu. Maybe they should have a car accident. Maybe they have something like that. So the point of the sacrifice, bringing the sacrifice to the Temple of Jerusalem, was the substitute for harming them. They were to sacrifice something of value to themselves. So they'd sacrifice the cow or the bird or whatever it was in substitution for the car accident, the illness, etc. How many of you would like to take that deal? No? You just enjoy being sick? Right? If you could give a little away something that you thought was of value, give away some money, I don't know, give away some time, give away a little, what do you call it? A little, tchotchke? Okay, a little knick-knack that you have at home instead of being sick or instead of having a car accident. You understand? That's what sacrifice means. That's what we like to do. So what are we learning here? Kabbalistically, the word for sacrifice has two specific meanings. One is to remove negativity. Not so bad now, right? If you could sacrifice a little something to remove some negativity from your life, worth it or not? Simultaneously, the same word means to draw closer to the light of the Creator. Just like we always say with this room, you don't remove the darkness and then bring in the light. They happen simultaneously. As you turn on the light, darkness disappears and there's illumination. As we are willing to make the effort to sacrifice something, we also are drawing closer to the light of the Creator and we're removing chaos from our lives. Think about it. Technically, you and I have sacrificed some amount of our time to come here. But frankly, I don't look like it is a sacrifice, because for me it's joy. I have nothing better I want to do on Sunday morning than be here with you, truly. Or I wouldn't have been doing it for all this time. But I don't look at it then as a sacrifice. But technically it is, right? I could have slept another hour or so. So I'm sacrificing that hour or those 2 hours to be here with you. You're sacrificing being out somewhere else for this, for the awakening and raising of consciousness, because this will help you remove chaos from your life and add light, peace, harmony, and joy, even through the difficulties. I never promise you, as I've never been promised in this teaching, that all of a sudden if you're here, everything just goes smooth. But you are promised to understand how to deal with whatever challenges come your way and smooth them out in the future as you move forward. That's the beauty. So therefore, the more we learn and practice this, then the greater our lives can be peaceful and harmonious, even when there's challenges. You remember shock absorbers? Shock absorber. What's the purpose of a shock absorber in your car? Absorb the shock of the bumps and everything else, right? So the tires are supposed to do like this, right? Over the bumps and the things, and you're in the car, you're supposed to just feel smooth, right? So Kabbalah is that shock absorber. It's teaching us how to handle challenges so that we feel peace and serenity while we're handling the challenges and dealing with difficulties in our life. And the more you do that, you smooth them out, and the road down the line gets smoother and smoother. As a student, I wanted to tell you the story, because sacrifice does mean giving up something that we thought was of value, but the key is for something of more value, right? You ever go shopping? You ever spend your money, or do you just do like some of the teenagers I know that just window shop? You ever spend money when you shop? So why are you spending your money? Because you felt in that moment greater value of what you're going to buy than the money in your pocket. So the same way, we're willing to give things up, no matter what it is, when we know we're getting something of greater value. So there was a student a few years ago who was willing. He understood. He had signs of a few little miracles that had gone on in his life from Kabbalah. And it came to this one day to a big decision that he was inspired. It wasn't me or one of the other teachers that suggested to him. He was inspired. He got the word in his head that he should make this effort to give, to spread light, instead of something else he wanted to do. And as he shared with me, it was a tough decision, but he finally understood that this was the thing to do, because he knew something good has to happen down the line. So in his case, he saw it within 2 weeks. His neighbor, who is never, ever home, happened to be home and in his backyard, that of course is next to the student's backyard. The student, everybody gone from the house, they're all at school or work, and a fire, brush fire, gets started in the student's backyard. Well, the neighbor, who not only is a neighbor and happened to be there, who's never there, guess what he also is in his profession? He's a firefighter. So he sees the brush fire starting, and he goes and he puts it out. Had he not been there, the way this gentleman's backyard was, the whole house could have gone up. Sure, nobody would have been hurt because they were all gone, but who needs the hassle of losing the house and all the possessions and everything else? So this one act of going the extra mile to share actually saved his house and all the hassle of it. So those things do happen when we're willing to make the effort. Should I tell you a quick little personal one? It's small, but I enjoy it. Okay. So years ago when I first started in the center, because it's kind of related, we were a small group of people back then. It's not like now. So each one of us on Friday afternoon, we had certain responsibilities, chores, if you will, to do, certain errands. So it came my turn to run some errands. So one of them was to go buy some ice cream for the weekend. Now, those of you who heard me for a while, you know that even though I don't eat much of it anymore, but ice cream is like, that's it. It's the cat's meow. Okay, just checking who knows that. It's like everything. So I've got, go get the ice cream. I have a couple other errands to run. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'll go to the ice cream store. I'll get the ice cream for the center. I'll have, a little ice cream on the way, and then I'll enjoy going the rest of the errands. And then I hear the voice tell me, you shouldn't, you restrict. Do for others first, and then you can receive. So I went, I did all the other errands. By the time I got back to the ice cream shop, there was yellow tape and 4 police cars. They'd had an armed robbery. So had I gone directly there, I could have been right in the midst of it. Who knows what, but I'm better and much more happy that I didn't even have to try it. But I avoided being in the midst of an armed robbery. So you never know what will change when you're willing to make that extra effort. But change will happen because we are creators, so we go the extra mile, the universe will go the extra mile for us. There's one other story I'd share with you. There was a woman, when we were a small center worldwide, and we were looking to grow and get out there and looking for media or whatever, there was a woman in Toronto who had a very small radio show. And so she liked what we were doing, even though it was unknown to the world, and a lot of people didn't really appreciate what we were doing. But she was willing to put Rav Berg, my teacher, on the radio every Sunday morning for 2 hours. At that point, relative to the world, it was a step up for us, right? It's like she was helping the center. Of course, as the center grew, this tiny little station in the middle of Toronto, we well outgrew it. But one very powerful lesson I learned from my teacher, no matter where he was in the world, on Sunday morning, he was on her radio show. So she was willing to give up front, and she got much, much more than she could have ever expected in return. Because I remember waking the Rav up at like 5 o'clock in the morning in LA, so he could be on her radio show 3 hours ahead of time in Toronto because of the time change. So he would do whatever it took because she had helped him and helped the center, so he was willing to help her as long as she wanted. So you never know where it's going to come from and how it's going to happen, but it will happen. That I will promise you. Okay. So I want to share with you something that I found in the Zohar yesterday. The Zohar is the main writings of Kabbalah, and it's related to this idea. If you think about it, what does it mean, go the extra mile? Everybody talks about going the extra mile. Go the extra mile, and you'll get more. Go the extra mile in your job, you'll make more money in your job. Go the extra mile in a relationship, and you'll get more there. But you and I are learning something different. We're learning it's go the extra mile for sharing our soul's light, because the Creator already gave us that light. It's just waiting to be expressed. We're not missing anything internally, we're missing it externally. So like we said about the value, we're learning here the value of the light that's in our soul already, waiting to be expressed. Light will turn into all the blessings in our life, but the blessings in our life may or may not bring us happiness and joy long term. So as they could say, if you're running a race, the faster you run, the faster you get to the finish line, no? Faster you run, the faster you get to the finish line. So if we understand the 100% is already set out for us, then the faster we will transform ourselves, the faster we will finish it. So there's a section in the Zohar that talks like this. It's explaining what our enemies are. It says, if you want to defeat your enemies, if you want to overcome your enemies. So most people look at the Bible, and what is it? It's a historical document. So the enemies are 3,400 years ago. It has nothing to do with us today. But in Kabbalah, there's nothing in the Bible or anything going on today that doesn't have to do with each and every one of us. So the Zohar says if you want to defeat your enemies, which are, for us, can be the challenges in our life that awaken inside of us, fear, anger, jealousy, worry, discouragement, guilt, resentment, etc. Those are our enemies. Our enemies are our negative thoughts and ideas. The enemies are not the people out there. No matter what they say to you, The enemy is your vision in your head or your thought in your head of what it means what they said. So if you want to defeat your enemy, what the Zohar says, then you have to circumcise your heart. This is kind of an unusual term. Because, I mean, we're more than just men in the room, right? Circumcision is usually relegated to, yes, ouch. Okay, great. You get the idea. So what does it mean to circumcise our heart? I mean, really, let's think about it. How many of you hold resentment to somebody? How many of us hold any resentment? How about any guilt? Shame. That means our heart is blocked. Our heart is blocked. It's blocked with these shells, the foreskin, if you will, of anger, fear, greed, ego, jealousy, resentment, hurt, intolerance, etc. So when the Zohar says, if you want to overcome the darkness of our enemy, fear, anger, jealousy, anything that's not God's pure light, if you want to defeat that enemy, you've got to circumcise your heart. How many religions teach us, love your neighbor as yourself? You've got to help. It says in the Bible, you see your enemy's donkey burdened and in trouble. Does the Bible say just laugh at him? It says go help him. You circumcise your heart. You feel for the animal. You feel for other people. Love your neighbor as yourself means open your heart. Karen Berg in 2002, 1 year after 9/11, made a very powerful statement that I constantly will share. It says, if you want to see peace in the world, and you've got to go back to that time frame, she says, you want to see peace in the world, you've got to see peace in the Middle East. And the only way you're going to see peace in the Middle East is when the Palestinian mother cries for the Israeli mother who lost a child, and the Israeli mother cries for the Palestinian mother that lost a child. When we will feel the pain of other people, when we will feel the pain of the people, not just here in Boca, look around the world. Look at what suffering is out there. When we will feel their pain, we will do what we can do to stop it. Whether it's praying, meditating, like we'd say, send light, bring more people to this wisdom, this understanding, so that we can change them. Because you and I know that they have inside of them 100% of God's light. It's only a question of activating it. So when we'll feel the pain for another, and we're praying, meditating, we're doing what we can to awaken the light in them, then their lives will also change. And therefore we will transform the planet, and that's what peace on earth is made of. Isn't it peace on earth, goodwill to all mankind? It doesn't just say goodwill to your friends, goodwill to your loved ones, to everybody. Because everybody's made in the image and likeness of the Creator, bar none. So when we're looking for the extra in our life, we have to be willing to extend ourselves the extra also. But remember, if it is cause and effect, then no matter what those other people will do, you open your heart, you feel their pain, and you just send them light. Think of it. Why would somebody say to you and me, some of the nicest, kindest people on this world, anything negative? Because they're hurt. I always teach in the classes, think of that person as spiritually wounded. If you saw somebody fall and scrape themselves up, wouldn't the first thing you want to do is go help them? It's our natural inclination. But when we think they're doing something against us, then our human inclination is no, push them away, get rid of them, run away. But if you see them as spiritually wounded, then right away will come out your compassion and your kindness. Will open up your heart, and you'll do what you can to help them, because you're not concerned about you, because as much as you hold that you are filled with the light of the Creator, and you're doing what you can to express that and let it out, then nobody can harm you and nobody can disadvantage you. Because once you let the light out, then the universe takes over. It will reflect what we do. So think of it from that point of view. The more people you are helping, the more people you are helping to heal them of their spiritual injuries, then the more the universe will reflect back to each and every one of us also that healing, also that extension of compassion and kindness and mercy. And that's what we all want, because every one of us at some point will have that moment of animosity or that moment of anger, or that moment of hurt or that moment of shame. Yes, it will come in moments and we will fix it afterwards. But the more we send out the mercy, the more the mercy will come back to us. One of our limitations, there was a great Kabbalist lived in the 1700s. His name was the Baal Shem Tov. And he taught us like this, and I want to put this out for you. This system is called Kabbalah because it's about receiving. But it's not about receiving the physical things we want. It's about receiving the light of the Creator that's already been given. So the limitation is not God's, the limitation is ours. If we open ourselves up, we can receive more. So he taught his students, and they taught their students, who comes down to us. The universe wants to give us everything. If we'll settle for less, then the universe will stop giving. If we will settle for less than our 100%, the universe will stop giving us towards that 100%. So he taught his students, never settle. Doesn't mean don't be satisfied. Appreciate what good comes your way, and I want more. Enough is not enough until it's 100% of the light of the Creator. And that's what he was teaching us. Want it all. Want all the light, but then you also have to do what's necessary to get it. If you want your unexpected good, then you have to do the unusual. If you want unexpected good, then you have to do the unusual. You have to stretch yourself extra. And as you will do that, then you will cause other people to do the same. Because once you create that opening, then the light of the Creator will shine. So it's up to us today to go out and extend ourselves in an unusual fashion. What's unusual for us to extend our open heart, our love your neighbors yourself, our kindness and compassion that we all want. It's in our heart and soul to let it out. It's only our experience that have taught us be careful how, when, where, etc. But unconditional love is unconditional love. Every great spiritual leader throughout history showed unconditional love. It's our job to imitate that because they imitated the Creator, and we ultimately want to imitate the Creator. So today is the day to go out and realize, no, I'm not settling for any less than my 100% blessings. But the only way I can make that happen is if I will go out and extend myself and share myself in unusual and extended ways towards other people. And then not only will your life be amazing, not only will you have a greater sense of happiness, joy, and peace, but all the people around you will be infected by that happiness and joy, and they will be caught in your contagiousness of stretching themselves the extra mile. And then what we all want to see, peace on earth and goodwill towards all mankind, will take place in our time. God bless.